Part 20. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 192. Several days in a row, Shenjiandu was resting in the villa. First, he was waiting for the mysterious dungeon invitation from the ancient instructor. He had a hunch that this special dungeon with no upper limit on the number of people would definitely be worth the money. Secondly, naturally, I am waiting for news about Jian Quan. The organization Fallen Angels has a large number of ghost masters, and each ghost master has a high-quality ghost in his body. If he catches them all, the harvest will not be inferior to that of a normal copy. But what Shen Jian didn't expect was that instead of waiting for news from Jian Quan, he got news from Zhang Yuman, a girl in a sweatshirt. Master, my friend suddenly contacted me today and said that she was in a small village and wanted me to go there tonight and take me into the world of ghost masters. The girl in the sweatshirt hesitated. Instinctively, she thought there was a trap. It's a bit like a telecommunications fraud scheme, using the trust of family and friends to extract money. You'll find out once you go. Shen Jian drove there without hesitation. The outskirts of Qingxi. In a small village under the Guimengguan Expressway. Even though it was already early in the morning, the lights were still brightly lit, and every house had its lights on. Not long ago, the old yellow dog in the village started barking non-stop. It's like going crazy, no matter feeding or kicking her, it doesn't work. This old yellow dog has been around for a long time. It's a stray dog. I have always been quiet, but I don't know why I was so noisy tonight. Some old people said that the old yellow dog saw something evil. The ancients believed that dogs were psychic and could see things that ordinary people could not see. The howling of the old yellow dog made the villagers who were awake and did not dare to sleep anymore. Everyone picked up their armor. The family that adopted the old yellow dog moved here only in recent years and has been feeding the dog. The old yellow dog is also very spiritual and squats at the door of the house every night, seemingly guarding the door. Hearing the barking of the old yellow dog, the family of 5 woke up. I didn't dare to express my anger. Because they saw a monster. Through the crack in the door, you can see a paper-tied woman with a colorful body and exaggerated blush on her face. She approaches step by step, and the old yellow dog barks more and more fiercely. Finally, the paper man came straight to the dog and grabbed the dog's neck. The old yellow dog, who was extremely vicious before, seemed to have met his nemesis at this moment. He suddenly became sluggish and was picked up with his tail between his legs. The paper man also glanced meaningfully at the crack of the door. He seemed to smile. She turned around and made an extremely terrifying move. She cut open the old yellow dog's belly alive. The dog was still struggling and all its internal organs had been taken out. Finally it was skinned and hung on the doorframe. The paper man stood outside the door, motionless, staring at the crack in the door. Inside the house, the family of 5 all covered their mouths, their faces turned pale, and their whole bodies were trembling. As modern people, they have never seen such a cruel scene. Mom, Dad, grandparents, don't be afraid, Kikai will protect you. A 5-year-old girl was holding a dancing sword that the old man used during morning exercises, and she was making a milky sound. At this time, the women hugged the little girl in horror. Because the door to the house has been opened by the paper man. The woman tied with paper walked in completely. The blush on his face became brighter and brighter. He stared at the family and smiled in an extremely weird way. This is the Ghost Master. You can control other people's lives at will. I must become a new human being. Zhang Yuman, you have everything I hope to have, but in this aspect, you lose, completely lose. No matter how much money you have, you can't keep it without strength. This is not the voice of a paper man. But behind the paper figure, a thin-faced woman with severely sunken cheeks came in, like the voice of a woman who had been hungry for several days. In the sound, with a bit of madness and morbidity, the thin woman walked in, looking at these weak and pitiful ordinary people with pity. You are so unlucky that you were selected as the location for the blood sacrifice. But if you want to blame it, it's because you are too weak. Only one of you can survive, so choose quickly. The woman smiled a sickly smile, driving the paper man away sadly. Behind him, blood spread. Only an unconscious little girl was left, being held by a paper man. The girl's name is Tang Zi, and she was born into a family where she is neither a high-achieving nor a low-achieving family. Her life should have been ordinary and ordinary. It wasn't until she went to college that she truly realized the gap between people, and she fell. The psychological bottom line was breached by an old man. But the other party was just playing with her and kicked her away when she got tired of it. The old man's wife also found her at school and publicized her. She was completely famous. She wanted to die, but she accidentally ran into a human who claimed to be a ghost master. After many tests, she successfully controlled a paper man. And tonight, it was her first mission. Kill all the people in the village and hold a blood sacrifice. For strength. She abandoned her so-called humanity, just to become a new human being and gain a foothold in this world. She secretly vowed to stand out. Especially tonight, she couldn't make any mistakes. Because this blood sacrifice is not only a test for the new members of the Fallen Angels organization, but also big figures in the organization will come when the time comes. What this big shot likes most is hearing about people's painful choices before they die. If she performs well, she may be able to reach the top in one fell swoop. Driving the paper man, she quickly walked towards the village ancestral hall. In a nearby house, there were also shrill screams. New members of the organization drove the paper men one after another, creating the strongest fear. Soon. Midnight watch. The village was quiet. The sound of Suana came from the entrance of the village, and a piece of music that was supposed to be festive was suddenly sung with an eerie feeling. As the Suana played, a sedan chair was carried by 4 paper figures, and a group of paper figures played, and sang. The sound of the Suana was extremely harsh. In the sedan chair, a young man with a feminine face sat on it, his face as white as a layer of powder. Tang Zi lowered his head. Don't dare to look directly. Because that is one of the 12 angels of the Fallen Angels organization. According to what she has learned these days, the purpose of this organization is to become a new human being in the new century, and at the top of the new human being are the 12 divine envoys. And the paper maker in front of her who drives the paper figurine is also her master. The paper men they control are all the paper man clones of this divine envoy. You are late. In the darkness, an old man dressed as an old magician walked out. A trailer was pulled behind him. It's the kind of trailer most commonly seen in food courts. Tang Zi looked at it, his eyes widened suddenly, with a look of horror on his face. Because those 2 trailers were densely packed with heads. I want to take a bath and change clothes to welcome the master's arrival. The feminine man's face showed a sickly flush, as if he were on a pilgrimage. You'd better be really sure that the Ghost King won't attack us, otherwise I will definitely curse you to death before you die. The old magician snorted coldly. Don't worry, the master is the descendant of the 4-star copy of the bloody paper shop. He is a Ghost King. He doesn't look down on the number of humans. In fact, I am not sure whether the master will respond to my call. So, what do you want to do with the blood sacrifice? What do you think? Damn, these are a bunch of mentally disturbed people, the old magician cursed secretly. But I guess that the Ghost King of the horror world will definitely be interested in the human world. If he can enter the human world, the master has no reason to refuse. The feminine man said, directing the paper figures to start the ceremony. And began to bide his time. Pity. They were expecting an uninvited guest in advance. Shen Jian drove the car and arrived. Enter the village entrance. I saw a family of 4 who looked like they were committing suicide. There was a piece of skin floating at the door. An old yellow dog whose chest had been cut open and skinned was breathing. Shen Jian frowned. How strange. He actually saw a lonely wild ghost that was taking shape. And it's still a dog. Think about it. Shen Jian sent a ray of yin energy over. Li Gui Lao Huanggo immediately completed the transformation. He started howling at Shen Jian, and rushed into the room, holding a bow and a broken dancing sword in his mouth, and handed them to Shen Jian. Then he howled in the distance towards the village. Zhang Yuman saw this scene. Totally freaked out. Master, this dog, the people here. Obviously, he has become a fierce ghost, but he still has the instinct of loyalty. Shen Jian touched the old yellow dog. Then he looked at the small bow in his hand, holding this toy-like dancing sword. Come on, let's go rescue your little master. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 193. Chapter 192 Le Fatai Xiaolei. Village Ancestral Hall. 2 footsteps came. After a while, a man and a woman came behind a group of members of the Fallen Angel organization with a newly formed old yellow dog. Someone turned and looked. His face looked astonished. He dared to come here after seeing the carnage scenes along the way. Is this person looking for death? Hey, brothers are all here, don't be nervous, we are on our own. Shen Jian smiled. He strode over. He didn't feel uncomfortable at all under the gaze of a group of malnourished organization members. Are you one of our own? Which divine envoy are you under? Some people looked surprised and asked questions. Doubt my identity. Shen Jian looked confident. He revealed his wrist, which had become slightly hot since he got close to this group of people, and showed a strange blood mark that appeared on his arm. Have you seen it clearly? The blood mark is organized. This can't be a fake. Organization blood seal, which official member is here? Someone was shocked. In fact, not every member of the Fallen Angels organization can have a blood seal. Only those who are able to control the ghost puzzle alone can truly be considered a formal member of the organization and have a blood seal. As for the newcomers to the organization who were here to control the paper figures, they were all consumables that could be manufactured in batches. To them, everyone with a blood seal was a big shot in their eyes. Are you humming stupid or stupid? He is locked by the organization's blood seal. This person has hunted and killed official members of the organization. This is a wanted order, which means that the organization will pursue him endlessly. Ready to fight? A senior member of the organization shouted coldly. The faces of the new members of the organization changed drastically, and while they were on guard, paper figures painted with bright blush had already surrounded them, and a strong and strange aura filled the air. A matter of seconds. 2 people and 1 dog were surrounded. At this time, the old yellow dog suddenly started howling at one of them. The dog's head suddenly showed its ferocity, showing a terrifying death state. The chest was empty, the belly had been cut open, and the outermost layer of flesh had disappeared. In the organization team, Tang Zi's pupils shrank and her mouth opened wide. That dead dog turned into a ghost. It's interesting. The newly formed innocent soul actually has such intelligence. The key is still a beast. This makes it even more precious. In the sedan chair, the feminine man spoke with interest. Then his eyes fell on Tang Zi and asked, "What did you do to this beast? To make it resentful?" Tang Zi looked happy. She knew that the envoy in front of her liked to see others being tortured to death and making the most painful screams. I directed the paper man to disembowel it personally, peel off its skin, hang it on the doorframe, and let it watch the family kill each other. Finally, I took the only remaining little girl with me, thinking after she wakes up, I will personally set fire to my home. Listen to this. Shen Jian glanced at Zhang Yuman beside him. He found that she was also shocked. Tang Zi, what are you talking about? Did you do what happened to that family just now? Why? Zhang Yuman was in disbelief. Tang Zi said with resentment, this is all necessary. Zhang Yuman, you don't understand the feeling of despair. You have been protected so well. The pain I have experienced cannot be healed by your words of comfort. That's okay. Your kind of comfort seems very disgusting to me. After she said that, she took out the unconscious little girl. The old yellow dog roared even louder. He bared his teeth and grinned, as if he would rush forward at any moment and tear the woman in front of him into pieces. Master God Envoy, I think that beast came here just for this little girl. As long as she is in hand, this dog will not dare to move. We can even order this ghost to turn around and attack these two people. Tang Zi suggested. It's interesting to turn against each other and kill each other. The feminine man said. Tang Zi, who heard the underlying meaning, also smiled twistedly, and threatened the little girl, dead dog, attack the two people around you quickly, or I will personally take out her heart. Said. A blush paper man has extended his hand. Just one touch and the little girl died. Full of threats. The surrounding organization members all showed expressions of watching the show. The old yellow dog barked at Shen Jian and rubbed his head against Shen Jian's calf. Like trying to please. Shen Jian glanced over. This fierce old yellow dog is really smart. Not only does it protect its owner, it can even identify who can help it. Given time, he will definitely be a fierce ghost above the red level. Think of this. Shen Jian picked up the broken dance sword. You must have broken this sword, haha, I'll use it to kill you. Shen Jian grinned. Holding this broken sword that looks like a toy. Yin energy surged out, and a bright black sword light cut off Tang Zi's right hand. The little girl fell. I cried out loudly. The old yellow dog barked woof, woof, which immediately attracted the little girl's attention. She was stunned, and then walked towards the old yellow dog. Damn it! Tang Zi shouted. He endured the severe pain and tried to catch the little girl back. Laugh. This time it was the left hand that was broken. Ah! Tang Zi screamed. Kneeling on the ground and wailing, blood flowed all over the ground, and both arms were missing. He could only hit his head on the ground to relieve the severe pain. Everyone around was dumbfounded. It's noisy. A toy sword that an old man used every morning to hold a sword with a flower. Not to mention whether it had an edge or not, it was even broken. It was actually used by this young man like a peerless magic weapon. A few meters away, an arm was cut off with a sword. Can a ghost master do this? Some people's expressions have changed. It was not easy to realize that this man was a ghost. The ghost in his body might be special, possessing supernatural powers that could not be seen. As for wielding the sword, it was just a way to hide from others. The reason is to prevent people from guessing the ghost's supernatural powers. At this time, the little girl finally ran to the old yellow dog, lay on his back and cried. After crying, he looked at Shen Jian again. And the sword she used to protect everyone, but was ruthlessly broken. Uncle, are you the knight who came to save us? Shen Jian looked at the broken sword in his hand and nodded slowly. These people will all go to hell to serve their sentences. The little girl seemed to understand. I believe uncle. At this time, the face of the feminine man sitting in the sedan also darkened. Killing my disciples in front of me, Your Excellency is not taking me seriously. Hear this. Shen Jian turned his head and said with a bad look on his face, this is a family matter between me and her, do you want to take care of it? He didn't give the other person a chance to reply. Then he nodded to himself, "Okay, since you have spoken, I will let you jump in and die first." The words just fell. Shen Jian held the broken sword, injected yin energy into it, and swung out a black sword light again. Split the sedan in half in the middle. At the same time, the expression and body of the feminine man were split open. Everyone present was stunned. Never expected it. This man was so decisive, without the slightest politeness or pleasantries. If he said he wanted to kill someone, he wouldn't wait even a second. A supernatural attack that is sure to kill. What was even more beyond the expectations of these new members of the organization was that the other party succeeded. The broken sword was swung out. One of the 12 divine envoys, who was extremely valuable and terrifying in the eyes of everyone, was cut in half in front of everyone. Died. A divine envoy died like this? How can this be? Don't worry, the paper tie guy won't die that easily. He's a 4-star player, and all his supernatural powers are related to the bloody paper tie shop. That's a supernatural prop shop that even the Ghost King covets. The old magician's eyes flashed with slight surprise. Then the old Shinto. A 4-star player controls at least 3 fierce ghosts, plus various life-saving props. His strength is comparable to that of the person in charge of a city. How can he die so easily? Although this young man is very evil and even he, who is well informed, cannot analyze the supernatural power of this evil ghost, the opponent is definitely not a 4-star player. Less than 4 stars, even if the ghost he controls is somewhat special, it is just an advantage at most. Once the paper tying becomes serious, this young man has no chance of winning. You monster! As expected. Smoke and dust were everywhere, and a human-shaped white paper came out of the body of the feminine man that was split in two. On the white paper, a tearing wound was spread all over the paper. The feminine man looked solemn. He became more and more afraid of Shen Jian. His life-saving item was his reward for completing the 4-star dungeon, and it could withstand 3 attacks from the Ghost King. But now, it was smashed into pieces all at once. The ghost controlled by this young man must be ridiculously strong. Controlling such a powerful ghost, how did he prevent the evil ghost from reviving? With such doubts, the feminine man was very decisive and launched the most terrifying attack. The supernatural power spread immediately. A piece of colored paper quickly expanded and turned into a thin little devil. His eyes were lifeless and he didn't look like a living person. The yin energy in his body actually reached the level of a first-time red-shirt person. Although it is not as good as the real red-clothed level ghosts, it is absolutely crushing against those below the red-clothed level. This is his best treasure. He will never use it until the moment of life and death. Come again. The feminine man sneered. Another female paper figurine appeared, also possessing the strength to enter the red level for the first time. Come again, come again, come again. He shouted loudly and displayed countless trump cards, including a total of 3 red shirt ghost paper figurines, and 7 or 8 green shirt paper figurines. That's not all. He took out a colorful paper shroud with some heartache. This is the entire inventory he has in the bloody paper shop. He had been running this large supernatural dungeon for a long time, like a grandson and a dog, and then he got such treasures from the cruel owner of the bloody paper shop. Now that they were sacrificed, he was very heartbroken. But these are nothing compared to a small life. Haha, although I don't know who you are, you must be a 3-star player. Next, I will let you see the background of a 4-star player. The feminine man spoke. A total of 10 terrifying ghosts appeared. Come step by step. The horrific scenes are mind-numbing. Shen Jian was surrounded. No one thought he could escape from being surrounded by these evil ghosts. He had been thrust into an almost certain death situation. All the members of the Fallen Angels organization present looked sarcastic, waiting to hear Shen Jian's cry. John Yuman sighed. His face was also pale. She did see another side of the world tonight. But the price was her life. It also implicated the master. She felt remorseful in her heart. His face was ashen. Surrounded by 10 fierce ghosts, there was no chance of winning. I can't help, master. The other side. 10 fierce ghosts slowly surrounded him. There were countless paper figures controlled by newcomers to the organization, and they also surrounded him. An absolute dragnet was created. The prey caught in the net will be unable to escape. A female ghost exuding the horror and supernatural power of a first-time red-shirt person pinched his neck and made a sound that sounded familiar. Xiao Shen, it's me. This voice fell in Shen Jian's ears, a bit like a ghost mother-in-law, and a bit like his boss at the time of Pua. Another middle-aged man exuding red-level supernatural powers covered his face and cried, approaching step by step. Under the cover of his big hands, he seemed to have a very terrifying face. A ghost baby crawled on the ground, making a parrot-like sound from its mouth. The sound was sharp and hollow. Looking at this scene, Shen Jian's face was expressionless. His face was very calm. He muttered something in his mouth. Tisk, a body made of paper is such a waste. Then, the sound is getting louder and louder. Everyone heard the sound. La fa take xiaole. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 194. Le fa take xiao. When Shen Jian said these words, I don't know if it's an illusion. Everyone was vaguely aware that the sky had changed. Heavy dark clouds came down. A faint roar could be heard, as if there was muffled thunder. Then, Shen Jian waved his hand, and a purple electric light suddenly appeared out of thin air. An electric arc shot out from his palm and hit the woman who made the sound. There was a loud bang, accompanied by screams that came to an abrupt end. The red-clad female ghost exploded directly. The bodies of colored paper were scattered on the ground, and on the burnt black paper, there were purple electric arcs swimming like small snakes, leaving terrifying energy fluctuations. Only the face-covering man and the ghost baby were affected by the aftermath of the explosion. At this moment, half of their bodies were gone, and they were knocked against the wall of the ancestral hall, crying sadly. Ah! Whoa whoa whoa! It was clearly a body made of colored paper, but at this moment it reacted like an ordinary ghost. It was creepy and a bit shocking at the same time. This moment, the scene was eerily quiet, with only the cry of the ghost baby and the wailing of the face covering, miserable and loud. Everyone present's eyes widened. The mouth can almost fit a goose egg. A look of shock appeared on his face. My heart was completely covered with horrifying emotions. We haven't leveled it yet, so you opened it up on the spot. Oh no. Are you just humming cheating? Looking at this scene, everyone felt like they were dying. Just because the young man in front of him exudes a surging aura. This aura does not seem to be supernatural and cold, but is filled with brilliant heavenly power. There are faint purple arcs swaying in his hands, and his heart beats powerfully, making a thunderous sound. Like a fairy in the sky. That is Shen. Do not look directly. Everyone was trembling with fear. You can use your special effects to hum the God King. Use it to deal with a group of newcomers like us. And at this time, Shen Jian slowly raised his hand. Tai Xiao. Another terrifying purple electric arc shot out that was so terrifying that it would disappear if it tried. The face-covering man who had lost half of his body no longer cried or covered his face. He had a frightened ghost face, and he tried his best to dodge, but was still caught up by the purple arc. The whole body transformed from the colored paper turned into coke. Shen Jian's face was expressionless. No heartache at all. Because these paper man ghosts are not even complete ghosts at all, they are just supernatural clones of the ghosts and cannot go to the 18th level of hell to serve their sentences. In other words, although there are many ghosts present, the only ones who can really provide yin qi are the 2 4-star players in the distance and a few official members. Another purple electric light shot out. Thunder flashed and loud noises roared. For a while, the entire entrance to the ancestral hall became a mess, and the terrifying aura of the paper man ghosts was wiped out, and they all started to dodge like crazy. If anyone fails to dodge in time, they will be blown to pieces immediately. Run quickly, he's coming this way. Hide there. Oh shit, it hurts so much, my hand is broken. Ah. At this time, the scene was completely reversed. Shen Jian, who was trapped in a certain death situation, was like a god descending into the world. The purple divine thunder that terrified the ghosts was released from his palm, exploding into a large area. Even the red-clothed paper man Li Gui couldn't hold on, let alone other ghosts. Not long after, the fleeing Xingyi level ghost roared angrily, "We can't go on like this. Just hiding is useless. Yes, fight this human being. He is too murderous. If this continues, we will all die. Have you noticed? He can only emit an arc every time, and he has no protection. As long as we can successfully get close to him, we have a chance. Half of my body was blown away, so I'll be used as bait. It's up to you, brothers." The ghosts were furious. For a moment, the atmosphere seemed tragic. Shen Jian said while pulling Tai Xiaoliai, "I advise you not to be impulsive, so you can live longer." Boom boom boom. Away from 7 steps, my thunder is fast. Within 7 steps, it is fast and accurate. Group of ghosts. Boom boom boom. The roaring thunder continued to sound one after another. The number of paper ghosts is getting smaller and smaller. It's no longer possible, brothers, I can't stand it anymore, I'm withdrawing. You withdraw. Then I will withdraw too. You all retreat? Then why should I stand in the way? For a while, all the evil ghosts stopped moving, turned back into human paper, and returned to the new members of the fallen angel organization. Even the trump cards played by the feminine man turned back into colored paper one by one. Feminine man. His face fell completely. No one thought that the young man in front of him could be so secretive. The purple thunder and lightning that shot out was definitely not the supernatural power of a ghost. On the contrary, it is more like the legendary thunder method. In this world, are there still humans who can use lightning? Are you a heavenly master from the heavenly master's mansion? How is this possible? The Leifa thing has been proven to be fake. Longhu Mountain, Mission, Genji sect, Quanzhen sect, these are all fake. How is it possible for you? Knows the thunder method? The feminine man drank coldly. He couldn't believe this. After all, if these sects still have special abilities, how could the authorities leave them alone, and why would supernatural events continue to occur? All the evidence shows that there is no power in this world that can fight against evil spirits. Shen Jian walked over step by step, full of oppression. Whether it is Leifa or not, you will know if you try it. Another purple arc appeared in Shen Jian's palm. It is true that there is no power in this world that can fight against the evil ghosts, but what does this world have to do with the king of hell? See this. The feminine man raised his head, his face seemed to be like a paper man, and his mouth made a sound that did not sound like a living person. I have seen your death. You died, so miserably. He opened his mouth and made a strange and penetrating sound. A mysterious force came. Want Shen Jian to die a violent death. Shen Jian's face was expressionless. I have also seen your death state. Your whole body was charred and black, and a big hole exploded in your chest. You will die with your eyes open. The words fell. Take Xiaolei shot out with bursts of thunder. Boom. The terrifying sounds were continuous. The dazzling electric light lights up the village. The members of the fallen angel organization who kept retreating were trembling all over and sweating profusely. He couldn't help but think of the death that Shen Jian had just predicted. The scene before my eyes. It is indeed a prophecy. But only for the first half of the sentence. He said that he had seen the death of a divine envoy, with his chest exploding and dying. But now, instead of his chest exploding, his whole body was obviously exploding, leaving only some incomplete, blackened fingers, and pieces of flesh flying out. The angel is dead. Everyone was frightened. He wanted to run away, but he was afraid of facing Shen Jian's palm thunder. They all stood in place, their hands and feet limp. Little boy, you are still careless. At this time, a deep twilight voice sounded. I saw another fallen angel organization's divine envoy, the old master, arriving behind Shen Jian at some unknown time, with a strange smile on his face. He seemed to be walking in the shadows. One hand had already pulled off a piece of Shen Jian's clothes, and he wanted to leave with a strange smile. The other party seemed to want to use these things to curse himself. Shen Jian glanced indifferently. Take a look. Just grab the opponent's wrist tightly. The old magic stick's expression changed. What left him stunned and speechless? Shen Jian took out something from his body. Next moment, a copy of his ID card was photographed on his face, along with a small section of hair, a 2-inch photo, and a drop of blood that was saved from unknown time. These things were all placed in a sealed bag and thrown away. On the face of the old magic stick. Come. Curse me. Leave this sentence behind. Shen Jian let go of the other party and began to clean up the fallen angel organization members here one by one. He said it. These people will be sentenced to despair in hell. Of course, we must abide by the agreement. The other side. After a slight shock, the old magic stick laughed sinisterly, stepped back, picked up the magic tools in the bag, and couldn't help but sigh, he met a fool. Although this man is strong, he is a reckless man with no brains. If you have some strength, you will be too arrogant. You must know that in the world of supernatural beings, the most taboo thing is for others to get personal belongings, because no one knows what kind of supernatural beings will affect them. Even a 4-star player may die from inexplicable supernatural power. Unfortunately, this is what he has. Curse. This person clearly saw through his intentions, but still took the initiative to give away his personal belongings. He really didn't know what to do. Although, he was also puzzled by this person's behavior of carrying a copy of his identity and hair and blood with him. But what the heck? As long as it's true. The old magic stick took out a little man made of straw, put Shen Jian's hair on the scarecrow's head, dripped blood, and wrapped the corners of his clothes around the scarecrow's body. Then he wrote 6 words on a blood-stained yellow talisman. From the copy of his identity, he could only calculate 6 characters of his birth date, but that was enough. He has never had such a rich battle. After all, the person who can let him cast a curse must be an opponent that he cannot face directly, and the opponent will not let him get these things. And the little kid in front of me gave these things away. With such a complete curse, no matter which 4-star player falls under it, he will die. The evil spirit inside the body cannot be saved either. At this time, Shen Jian, who was busy collecting ghosts, turned around and said, "At the 2nd quarter of the day, I only write 6 good horoscopes. It's not unlucky, so I added them all." Old God stick. He couldn't help but be stunned for a while. I still underestimated you. You are so arrogant. He, little brother is so brave. The old magic stick smiled and praised. I feel more and more that this little kid is a loser. The 8 characters are perfect. A bloody yellow talisman is taped to the scarecrow's back. Supernatural effect. The scarecrow emitted terrifying supernatural fluctuations, the blood soaked into it, the hair was firmly attached to the top of the head, and the corners of the clothes formed a piece of clothing. Slowly, the scarecrow looks more and more like a human being. Although that face is still made of straw, no matter who looks at it, they will exclaim, "Isn't that Shenjian?" Obviously, the scarecrow has become Shenjian's life-related object. Once the scarecrow is damaged, the same symptoms will appear on Shen's body. Go to hell. The old magic stick looked fierce, pushed the scarecrow to the ground, and broke his head off. If it were any other opponent, he would torture him in various ways. But this little boy is too reckless. No one can guarantee that if he is not killed immediately, the other party will try his best to use his thunder method and pull him along to support him. In the dark, a terrifying supernatural force descended. The old magic stick was smiling proudly. Next moment, ah! He let out a hysterical scream. The moment he broke the scarecrow's head, the skin on his body began to crack, and his head was squeezed and deformed by an invisible force. He knelt on the ground and scratched his chest, as if he wanted to claw out his heart and lungs. He screamed with all his strength, as if he had been tortured from the 18th level of hell. "Monster, you monster!" The dignified 4-star player seemed to have seen something terrifying and abnormal at this moment, and he was shouting like crazy. Shenjian glanced over. Ridiculous. Shenjian was not surprised by all this. Curse the king of hell. Since the other party wants to die, he will naturally make it happen. So far, all the members of the fallen angel organization who gathered here were caught in one fell swoop. Hundreds of ghosts were escorted by yin messengers and sent to the underworld. Shenjian took his scarecrow, let go of resistance, and pinched himself. Correspondingly, the same senses came from his arms. Moved somewhere again. Hiss, I actually feel it. Shenjian was thoughtful. Thought of a new usage. It's such a waste to use this kind of scarecrow that can be connected to the senses to curse people and kill people. This is obviously an excellent tool to improve the life of a couple. He also wants the supernatural power of this fierce ghost. At last, Shenjian looked specifically at the thin woman he bypassed, Jiang Yuman's friend, Tang Ziyi. The reason why he was able to find this place was thanks to this woman. Naturally, the treatment cannot be the same. Do you want her to die? Shenjian touched the old yellow dog's head and looked at the little girl on the old yellow dog's back. The little girl stared blankly at the scene in front of her. Bewildered. She knew that the demon in front of her had killed her family, but she didn't understand what hatred was, nor what revenge was. She only knew that seeing this demon begging for mercy gave her a sense of pleasure. Uncle, does everything disappear when a person dies? The little girl was confused. No, death is the beginning. Shenjian said casually. Uncle, please send her away. Laugh. Before Tang Ziyi could ask for mercy, Shenjian took the broken dancing sword and chopped off her head without looking back. The sword was so fast that after cutting off the head, the blood did not spurt out immediately, but flowed down the head. During the whole process, Jiang Yuman remained silent. Come on, I have a place just right for you. Shenjian turned and left. This fierce old yellow dog is very special. Although he has become a fierce ghost, he still maintains the instinct of loyalty. This instinct has even suppressed the law of killing. And the little girl in front of her has become a ghost controller in another sense. It is not affected by the resurrection of the evil ghost, but can also rely on the supernatural power of the evil ghost. This kind of case is too rare. He needs to be included. At the same time, Qingxi Expressway intersection. A convoy passed quickly. These people were wearing uniform black coats, and under their peaked caps, their eyes were cold and catchy, making people shudder. He is a member of the Daxia branch. In particular, there were 3 men sitting in one of the cars. All are Samsung players. Not only is he a ghost controller, he is also responsible for the security issues of Qing City. Inside the intercom, Qian Quan's voice sounded, "Don't be careless. According to the information we have received, members of the Fallen Angel organization have gathered in a small village on the outskirts. The situation is very dangerous and we need your support as soon as possible. Instructor Qian, where is that Yama? Didn't you notify us? This group of Fallen Angel organization members will hold a blood sacrifice, and a divine envoy will probably arrive by then. We cannot withstand a supernatural attack from a 4-star player." One of the Ghost Masters said. "We have to stop it even if we can't. If we escape from their blood sacrifice today, those mad dogs smelling blood will come again, and Qingxi will be completely finished by then," Qian Quan said sharply. At the same time, he looked at his phone anxiously. He had just tried calling Shenjian, but there was no response. "It's okay if I just don't have time for the time being." He was afraid that the other party had already entered the thriller game, and in that case, he would not be able to get out in a short time. "I have tried to contact Yama and will tell you as soon as there is any situation, but you must step up now. Even a divine envoy cannot ignore your attack. I do not ask you to catch each other, as long as you just force them back so they can't escape smoothly," Qian Quanzheng said. I heard an exclamation coming from the intercom. "No, there's something wrong. A ghost car is coming at a high speed, and there is an old yellow dog following behind it. It's a ghost. Be alert, we may be discovered." Listening to these exclamations, Qian Quan's heart tightened. Distraught. "Did you meet the members of the Fallen Angel organization so soon? This is too fast. This group of Ghost Masters is the future pillar of Qingxi. Once it breaks, Qingxi will suffer heavy losses. Think of this." Qian Quan was even more anxious. "Mr. Shen, where are you? Qingxi needs you. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace." Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 195. The Other Side. Shen Jian also saw a dozen missed calls made by Qian Quan. He saw the Daxia Dragon Bird team at the highway intersection again, thought about it, and drove over. Although he has taken away the ghosts of those who died in vain, the 6 paths of reincarnation in the underworld have not yet been established, and if you want to be reincarnated, you still have to wait. Matters in the village also require Daxia Lonke to clean up the ground. Rumble. The strange sports car roared like a beast, and its speed soared, as if it wanted to crash into it. The old yellow dog following behind also roared. A menacing look. Members of Daxia Lonke blocked the car at the intersection. The 3 Ghost Masters took the lead. They all looked at the vehicle in front of them indifferently, as if they were looking at a dead person. Behind you is Qingxi. It's their home. Once these lunatics are allowed to escape safely today, more lunatics will choose Qingxi as the location of their crimes in the near future, and their families will be picked if they are not protected. No matter whether it is public or private, they cannot let go the members of the Fallen Angels organization. Even if you can't keep them, you must let them know that Qingxi is not a soft persimmon, and it is best to think that both parties will perish together when pinching him. However, to everyone's surprise, when they were more than 30 meters away, the strange sound of the tires of the sports car was heard. The car turned in one direction while sliding, and finally stopped steadily about 10 meters away from the crowd. "Now that you're here, why bother hiding your head and tail? Which big shot from the Fallen Angels organization is in the car? I'm afraid you won't be able to go back today. The three ghost masters had expressionless faces. The supernatural has begun to spread. To be able to get into such a ghost car, the identity of the other party is definitely not simple. Must be at the top of the organization. If you can keep the other party, it will also make the Fallen Angel organization feel heartache. Fallen Angel, Paper God. A muffled male voice came from inside the car. Hear this. Everyone was immediately shocked. Paper-making God. The fifth-ranked ghost controller among the 12 gods. There is a record of him in the data. He is a murderer who has lost his humanity. He likes to torture rather than kill. In addition, he has a supernatural power and came from a 4-star dungeon. Among 4-star players, he can definitely fight 1 against 2. That's right. An existence that can fight against a red-clothed level ghost. Be on guard, he likes to use the human wave tactic the most. Check to see if there are any paper figures around you. A group of Daxia Dragon Bird members are all extremely vigilant. Like facing a formidable enemy. Even the 3 Samsung players' expressions changed drastically. They have crow's mouth. I just said that the Fallen Angel organization would probably send an envoy, but I didn't expect that an envoy actually came. Moreover, he is a powerful paper-making envoy who is not afraid of the crowd tactics. This is trouble. At this time, another vague voice came, Fallen Angel, curse the angel. This time, the expressions of the 3 ghost masters changed again and again. Became completely white. What? There is another divine envoy. Be careful not to leave any hair, pieces of clothes, etc. on the ground, otherwise you don't know how you will die later. Everyone present was dumbfounded. He never expected that a 2-seater sports car would be occupied by 2 formidable and terrifying figures at the level of city leaders. They can't cope with a paper-making god, and then there's a ghost controller who can cast a curse to kill his opponent as long as he has a few pieces of clothing. If these 2 people join forces, everyone will be wiped out here. Quick, run away. 2 divine envoys, this is beyond your ability to handle. Leave as soon as possible before the other party gets out of the car. Inside the intercom, Qian Quan's somewhat panicked voice came out. He even began to think that this was a trap. The trap aimed at Qingxi is to kill everyone at once. At this time, the voice changed the subject, both of them can't come. Qian Quan. Daxia Longke members present. Gan. If you can't come, what name will you apply for? Haha, don't you have a name yourself? You come out to fool around, and you only dare to use other people's names to scare people. The faces of the 3 ghost masters who discovered that they were being tricked darkened and they approached step by step. The surrounding Daxia Dragon Bird members all looked bad. You ask me my name. The people in the car seemed to pause. Then he spoke. Fengqing Street, Wanghaijiao Community, Villa No 001. Everyone. Grass. They asked you to register your registration number, but not your house number. Hearing the other party reluctantly give an address, the 3 ghost masters sneered. Just as they were about to say something, they glanced out of the corner of their eyes and noticed that some of the Daxia Dragon Bird members around them suddenly became weird. Start whispering. They seem to be talking about something. This address sounds so familiar. Yes, you feel the same way, right? It feels like Instructor Qian focused on this place. What do you mean? Is this a supernatural place? Does it need to be mentioned? The 3 ghost masters looked puzzled. They also started talking to each other. What's going on? When did Qingxi gain another supernatural place? Or is this a vicious ghost master? Idiot, Mr. Shen lives in Villa No 001. Hold on, you are on your own. Qian Quan's surprised voice came from the intercom. The words have not yet fallen. The car door opens. A young man wearing a white windbreaker walked down, with a ghost rope on his wrist. He also added, "Of course, you can also ask Daxia Lonke to get me the code name, Yama." "What? Are you Yama?" The three ghost masters looked like they had just returned from participating in a thriller game. They were very shocked when they heard Shen Jian's name this time. "Mr. Shen, you finally showed up. We have mastered the actions of the Fallen Angel organization and are now preparing to close the network. The opponent is very large this time. I suspect they will send out an angel. I hope Mr. Shen you can take action when the time comes. Help." Qian Quan said through the intercom. Shen Jian was silent for a moment. "Guess, why can I tell them their names?" Qian Quan. Everyone. Only then did they realize that the direction in which Shen Jian had just appeared was their destination. "Mr. Shen, you mean?" Shen Jian lifted the trunk and pointed at the blood-stained paper figures piled inside. "If nothing else, your targets are all here." This moment, the whole place fell into dead silence. Two divine envoys, all killed. After a long time, the three ghost masters spoke in disbelief with their throats rolling. "That's a 4-star player. He is a ghost controller comparable to the person in charge of a city. A ghost master of this level has already reached the top of the pyramid. Not only is it extremely difficult to kill, but once it dies, its own ghost will resurrect, which will also lead to an A-level or even S-level supernatural event. They have all made plans to make certain sacrifices and pay a lot of costs before they can barely defeat these people. But now, the battle is over. The two divine envoys died here quietly. He also killed the invading members of the Fallen Angels organization. This sudden surprise made everyone present feel like they were dreaming. Under everyone's breathless gaze, Shen Jian nodded slowly. After receiving his affirmative reply, the atmosphere at the scene could no longer be suppressed, and a group of people cheered loudly. "I am glad that I had another brush with death." Everyone present was prepared to sacrifice before performing their mission. Never expected it. A big surprise has arrived. Who wants to die if he can live? At the same time, the eyes of a group of people looking at Shen Jian were also full of shock. He single-handedly dealt with the two great angels of the Fallen Angel organization, plus a group of disciples. This strength is unimaginable. Listening to Shen Jian's reply on the intercom, Qian Quan was not surprised. That is an existence that is suspected to be the city god of the underworld, and maybe the only existing god in this world. If he took action, how could the rats of the Fallen Angel organization escape his pursuit? Awesome. Master Yama is invincible and does not need to be explained. 6 turned over. Wait for Shen Jian to return to the house. It was already early next morning. He received a notice from the ancient instructor. "We will pick you up in 1 day. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace." Author, Shiyu Buletin Chigua. Chapter 196. The next day, Shen Jian opened the game panel. His top priority now is to upgrade the game level as soon as possible and unlock the permissions of the 4-star dungeon, so that he can enter the dungeon with the Ghost King. Otherwise, I don't know how long it will take to unlock the next Yama Palace. The player ancient instructor has sent you a dungeon invitation. Do you want to accept it? Accept. The scarlet panel emerged. Trigger special copy, first 7. Mode, multiplayer mode. Tip: this is a funeral invitation. Those invited must strictly abide by local customs, otherwise they will be expelled. Look at the message on the game interface. Shen Jian was thoughtful. Observe local customs and culture. Is the River God Festival also one of the customs and culture of Sujia village? Thinking. Everything around me started to change. It has been detected that the player has entered a special instance. It is detected that the player is wearing the title of Dungeon Collapser, and the game becomes more difficult. It has been detected that the player has received a game warning and the game has become more difficult. It is detected that the player is being targeted by a ghost-level ghost, and the game becomes more difficult. 3 large scarlet fonts appeared in front of Shenjian one by one. It seemed like a warning. Shenjian ignored it. There is a saying that you don't have to worry about itching if you have too many lice, and you don't have to worry about too many debts. Shenjian has this attitude now. The special copy has been opened. A sufficient number of players have been detected. Loading. You have completed the match. Copy, first 7. Content: Sujia village is a village that attaches great importance to local customs and culture. There are many folk customs in it, which must be strictly observed. Anyone who tries to destroy the customs and culture will be spurned. Number of players, 20 people. Main mission: visit the village completely and learn the truth about the first 7 souls. Side mission. Task tip: please don't laugh in serious places. Difficulty: 3 stars. With the introduction of the panel introduction, Shenjian opened his eyes. Appear in a wasteland. The wasteland is surrounded by scarecrows planting rice, which looks very eerie. There was a village in front of him. There were a few sporadic lights flickering in the dark night, and a few dogs barking, breaking the dead silence and depression of the place. It looked no different from a village in the real world. Yamluo, you are here. The ancient instructor spoke. Shenjian glanced over. In the wasteland, 15 Daxia members wearing black windbreakers came out rustlingly. Some were carrying video recorders, some were holding equipment, and even a makeup box. Professional. These equipments are actually supernatural props. Daxia of the Demon City branch really has a profound background. Shenjian couldn't help but sigh. They seem to be just some ordinary shooting equipment, but they reveal the secrets of the Demon City. When the critical moment comes, these equipment that can shoot and record are also a powerful weapon against evil ghosts. In addition to these Daxia Dragon Bird members, 4 other players also came in. The 4 seem to be a small team. They have been whispering since they came in. It's his grandma's fault. I'm unlucky and out of shape. This dungeon was obviously a 2-star difficulty level, but why did it suddenly change to a 3-star difficulty level? I suspect something has changed, and the original plan may have to be cancelled. The ancient instructor's face was serious. In the 2-star dungeon, he and Shenjian combined were powerful enough to control others, and they had enough power to protect the safety of others, but the 3-star dungeon was different. It seems that the difficulty has only increased by 1 level, but the actual difficulty has doubled several times. Apart from anything else, Li Gui's terror level soared from the green shirt level to the top red shirt level. No one knew how big the difference was. Because we know that the top red clothed level ghosts are terrifying, and there is no one left alive. Shenjian. Is there a possibility that this accident is me? Yamluo, have you noticed the mission requirements? Completely experiencing the first 7 days means that we need to spend 7 days here. Within 7 days, we should find out the truth about the death of the people who returned to the soul for the first 7 times. The ancient instructor pondered. Focus on the task. Samsung copy, that's no joke. Even he couldn't guarantee that he would survive. At this time, the scarlet panel emerged. Task tips: enter Sujia village. Note, there is only one road, don't go astray. The game begins. Everyone was shocked. Observe the surrounding road conditions carefully. I found that there was only a field road leading into the village. Other cement roads lead in all directions. The crowd began to move forward along the path. Among the 20 players, Instructor Gu is the instructor of Magic City, and the team is vaguely headed by him. Even the players in the four-person gang are cooperating with Daxiolanke's actions in a tacit understanding. He looked like he was following orders. Soon after passing through the field path, we entered a larger dirt road. There was a light a little further on, and it seemed like there was a family living next to this road. Clear away the weeds. Everyone hasn't completely walked onto the dirt road yet. I heard a faint shout. Give me my head back, give me my head back. Shen Jian was shocked. Immediately booed. He led everyone to squat down and urged, hurry, hide quickly. The ancient instructor's face changed drastically, and he quickly asked everyone to squat down, and said nervously, Yamluo, is the ghost in front of you scary? Is it a red-clothed ghost? Or is it a ghost king? As soon as these words came out, all the players present were stunned. Before I even entered the pointed location in the game, a red-clad ghost appeared in front of me? Maybe even the Ghost King? It's noisy. After listening, Shen Jian was also slightly startled. Then he listened to the footsteps getting closer and lowered his voice, "SHH, the ghost is coming this way, don't scare it away." Instructor Gu. Good guy. Are you hiding because you're afraid of scaring away this ghost? Take it, you idiot. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Buletin Chigua. Chapter 197. On the Lois Road. It was pitch black in the distance. A figure came slowly. She seemed to be an old woman with a stooped and thin figure. Blood was constantly seeping out from under the cover of her clothes. And her head is not on her neck, but is held in her hands. What's permeating is. She was clearly holding her own head, but she kept shouting. My head, give me my head. The old woman looked around, her eyes filled with resentment. It seemed that she didn't just want to get her head back, but wanted more heads. As she passed by a wasteland, a gloomy voice suddenly sounded. Old man, give me your head, give me your head. The old woman was stunned. These words. Why does it sound more and more wrong the more I listen to it? Give you my head? This turtle boy seems to be trying to steal something. She raised her head and looked around. When she turned to the left, she saw a beam of light shining in the thick straw. Take a closer look. Under the light source, a man's face was hidden unexpectedly. Grass. What the hell? The old woman was frightened. The other party's entire body was hidden in the straw, except for a human face that was exposed, with his eyes wide open. It was so late at night and illuminated by the lights, it looked like a human head placed there, which was very eye-catching. But soon, the old man smiled and said sadly, Giwazi, do you want my head? As he spoke, he walked over in a few steps, and brought the bloody head with grey pupils in front of the other party. The face in the straw, the pupils slowly dilated. The smile on the old woman's lips became even stronger. Judging from her scaring experience for most of her life, the other party was frightened. This is a human's instinctive reaction when faced with fear. Next moment, a light touch on the hand. The owner of the human face took away her head, quickly got into the dense straw field, and ran away very sharply. The old woman still kept holding it with both hands. He stood there in a daze for a while. Just as he was about to catch up, he suddenly realized that the connection between himself and his head was broken. She suddenly panicked. He rushed into the fields and searched frantically, but found nothing. After a while, a truly piercing sound sounded here. My head. My head. The other side. In a pile of straw, a figure shouted in a low voice, Quick, I got it, cover the traces. Instructor Gu. They dare not be careless. He took out a blood-stained yellow talisman and pasted it on the head. The originally wide-eyed head suddenly fell into a deep sleep. It's done. Then, the old woman's shrill screams followed. This yellow talisman is very useful. Shen Jian took a look and was slightly surprised. Because the style of this yellow talisman is exactly the one he has seen several times before. Just by sticking it on the player, it can cover up the breath of living people and make people fall into deep sleep. Now it can even cover up the breath of ghosts. If you need it, I can give you a few. This yellow talisman is also the biggest consumable in my Magic City branch. I got it from a zombie dungeon. There are still a lot left. It has the ability to conceal the aura of the living. The effect of suppressing evil spirits. But, can I ask you a question? The ancient instructor paused. He said in a hesitant tone, why are you so skilled at this kind of thing? After taking the head, Shen Jian took out a black plastic bag from his body, put the head in it, and then tied it around his waist. Their mouths twitched. Pin your head to the waistband of your trousers, it's only superficial. But this kind of thing looks like a perversion no matter how you look at it. For a moment, the ancient instructor re-examined this underworld god who was suspected to be the city god of the underworld. If you follow him, you won't teach a bunch of perverts. He became deeply concerned. After all, the act of snatching a head from a ghost's hand and holding it on the waist is really not comparable to that of a normal person. He glanced at the photographer who was taking the photo, as if to say, this part doesn't count, just cut it out. The cameraman made an okay gesture. Shen Jian was non-committal. He saw that the fierce ghost had a strength close to the red-coated level, but because of its frightening slowness all year round, it could not even exert one-third of its yin-qi level. Naturally, he had to cheer it up. But when the words come to your lips, their meaning changes. Shen Jian said, I am a player and a ghost controller. Even ghost controllers can control powerful ghosts. I collect a few ghosts for fun. Is this normal? This. Can the ghost controller still explain it this way? The ancient instructor hesitated to speak. However, we are shooting with positive energy to make material for future members of Daxia Dragon Bird to learn from. Is this method of exorcising ghosts not very good? Shen Jian shook his head, patted the ancient instructor on the shoulder, and said seriously, Buddha cut meat to feed the eagles, what a feat he did. The ghost I'm talking to next to you today is also following suit. How come this doesn't have any positive educational significance? Instructor Gu. The corners of his mouth twitched. If it was feasible, why would he cut off this section? However, what Shen Jian did today was not only dangerous, but also had a high chance of no return. If everyone followed this method of seeking death, the great Xia Longke would have no new strength. And if someone else's Buddha cuts off his flesh, it is his own flesh. When you cut off your head, you are cutting off someone else's head. Forget it, maybe there is still a chance to film his normal customs clearance process after all, and I don't mind missing this one. Instructor Gu thought so. In the fields, large tracts of straw were destroyed, accompanied by the headless old woman's shrill wails. Compared to her feeble shouts before, it could be heard that she was a little excited now. The voice is also louder. Because this time, her head was really gone. But Shen Jian and a dozen people have already walked out of the wasteland and officially entered the village. Although Sujia village is a small village, it is not desolate. Not only are the houses spread out, they are all covered with white ceramic tiles. At this time, one of the Daxia Longke members spoke up, there are more than 100 households in Sujia village, all with the Su family surname. The most terrifying one is the village chief's family. When I completed the mission, I passed by the village chief's house once. When I took a look inside, I was almost killed. It was definitely a red code level or above ghost, and it was not an ordinary red code level. Shen Jian looked over. This is a quite young player with the ID Fang Yuan and level 23. It can be heard from the description that he is the player who brought the special copy invitation. After I completed my mission, I got permission to stay in a villager's house. I'll take you there, Fang Yuan said. When we reached a dirt road, Shen Jian, Gu instructor stopped. Everyone was shocked. They all became alert. It was very late at this point. The surroundings seemed so quiet that when they stopped, you could hear their breathing if you listened closely. Fang Yuan was also stunned. Look straight ahead. With the help of the faint moonlight, you can faintly see a short figure walking out of the weeds in the distance. The location is right in the shadows, making it difficult to see the whole thing, and only a blurry figure can be seen. It seemed to be an old man. A bit short in stature. He was wearing a lifeless shroud. Standing there straight. What's going on? This road is obviously safe. Fang Yuan reacted. Ahead is a ghost blocking the way. But when he was doing tasks before, he had walked this road countless times, and he had never seen a ghost blocking the road. This is the first time. After all, it is a 3-star dungeon, so the difficulty is naturally different from when you were in a 2-star dungeon, revealing even greater horrors. Instructor Gu was not surprised. Sujiakan is a 3-star dungeon difficulty. How could it be the same as what Fang Yuan saw before? As the game begins, the true horror of this ghost village will gradually emerge. Just like what Fang Yuan said about the village chief's family before, that was definitely the scariest place. And in the first 7 days, they might have to deal with real red-clad ghosts. Anything less than that will definitely result in the group being wiped out. Conversation room. The short figure in the weeds in the distance spoke. A hoarse and deep voice came. People in front of you, do you think I look like a human being or do I look like a ghost? It's not loud. But in this silent village. But his voice seemed extremely loud, echoing in everyone's heart. The players were horrified. Is this, Huang Paizi asking for a seal? Everyone present knew this familiar saying. Like a human, or like an immortal, this is the most classic sentence in Huang Paizi's discussion. If the answer is like a human being, Huang Paizi will receive the fate of all spirits, and will only be an adult for the rest of his life. Once his path is gone, he will be able to walk upright like a human from now on, but he will not be able to become an immortal. Then Huang Paizi will definitely feel resentful and take revenge on this person for the rest of his life. If the answer is like a fairy, Huang Paizi will receive the luck of all spirits, be canonized, and is expected to become an immortal. But this is not necessarily a good thing for people. If Huang Paizi successfully becomes an immortal, then everything will be fine. If he fails to become an immortal, in addition to attracting revenge from Huang Paizi, he himself will also suffer from bad luck due to some mysterious luck. At worst, he will suffer bad luck for the rest of his life and lose his descendants. This is also the reason why in the Northeast rumors, everyone's expression changes when they encounter Huang Paizi asking for a title. Because no matter what the answer is, it's wrong. And now, they seem to have encountered a similar situation when they first entered the village. But it was not Huang Paizi who was asking for the seal, but a ghost. Like a human, or like a ghost. Everyone looked. The short figure has stepped out of the shadows. It was a short old man wearing a shroud. There were corpse spots all over his body, and his face was pale. With a hint of a sinister smile. There is no doubt that this is a fierce ghost. How to answer? The answer is like a human being, which is obviously a ghost. If you are deceived, the ghost is likely to directly launch a supernatural attack. The answer is like a ghost. That ghost kills people. Is there anything to say? Both answers seem to trigger Li Gui's killing pattern. This moment. There was dead silence. The person in front of me, do you think I look like a human being or a ghost? The yellow-skinned ghost spoke again. The steps came a few steps closer. This time, everyone saw it more clearly. The old man seemed to have just crawled out of the cemetery. His body was covered with mud, and his whole body exuded a rotten smell. It seemed that under that shroud was a highly decomposed corpse. As the yellow-skinned ghost's voice sounded again. That moment, Shen Jian subconsciously blurted out, "I think you look like a little Lolita with blonde hair, animal ears, and white stockings." Good thing. He swallowed back the urge. After saying this, his title of Yamluo would become abnormal. Then, Shen Jian tilted his head and opened his mouth to the yellow-skinned ghost, "Abba, Abba, Abba." Yellow-skinned ghost? Instructor Gu's eyes widened. Everyone. Confusion appeared on the yellow-skinned ghost's face. Meta-mute. Now. Shen Jian gestured at the yellow-skinned ghost, as if he was using sign language, and pointed to his mouth. "Abba, ba, Abba, ah, ba, ah, ba." It seemed like he was responding to Huang Pitzi's request for a seal. Yellow-skinned ghost. His balls ached. "Blanche. What are you doing with Go Ba? I have never learned sign language, so I can only speak dumb language." He never imagined that one day he would get stuck in his murder routine because he couldn't understand the other person's gestures. Nonsense. He spit a mouthful of phlegm on the ground in his heart. How unlucky he was. On the first order, I met a mute. If he had known he would be in this situation, he should have taught himself sign language. Miscalculation. Simply. The yellow-skinned ghost no longer looked at Shen Jian, but looked at Fang Yuan. "People in front of you, do you think I look like a human being or a ghost?" The hoarse voice sounded again. Its figure was already within 10 meters, and its pair of pale dead pupils seemed to be emitting green light. Just looking at it made people feel creepy. The next second, Fang Yuan spoke. "Weibi, Weibi, Weibababu. Yellow-skinned ghost? What's the situation?" Another mute. "There is no school for the deaf and mute nearby." What kind of luck was he, meeting two mutes in a row? For a while, Shen Jian and Fang Yuan, two mutes, began to make gestures from time to time, and from time to time their mouths were twisted like Abba. The yellow-skinned ghost's mouth twitched when he saw it. I kept thinking silently in my heart, don't be angry, why are there so many people who are not mute? He will get off work as long as he completes today's killing target. Don't be offended by this. Then, he looked at the ancient instructor. "People in front of you, do you think I look like a human being or a ghost?" Instructor Gu. The education he received did not support him from doing such a thing. However, looking at Shen Jian who was winking in front of him, and then looking at the expectant yellow ghost, Instructor Gu finally gave up his face and said shyly, ah, ba, ah, ba. Yellow-skinned ghost? Stuttering and mute. He vomited blood. Why did I meet three weirdos today? He still doesn't believe this evil. The yellow-skinned ghost was anxious. Continue to ask, the person in front of me. Abba. The person in front. Ah. Front. Bar. After asking 20 mutes one after another, the yellow-skinned ghost was already hopeless. It really happened that the school for the deaf was out. Unlucky. He looked at the person in front of him with a look of resentment, turned around and left. At this time, Abba. Shen Jian shouted loudly. Called the yellow-skinned ghost back. Gawazi, what are you doing? The yellow-skinned ghost spoke subconsciously. The next second, his eyes lit up. In sight, the mute young man who first said Abba Abba took out his mobile phone, opened Baidu Translate, typed a line of words, and clicked to pronounce. Suddenly, A synthetic female voice came out. I'm sorry, I'm mute, I can't speak. I'll use my mobile phone to translate it into a voice to answer you. Yellow-skinned ghost? His eyes widened. He couldn't handle this operation. He turned around. Fell into deep contemplation. Having been born and raised in Sujia village for so many years, although he knew that the outside world had changed rapidly, he never thought that he could still ask for a title like this. And the other party answered this. Should he kill the young man in front of him or the person who answered the question? For the first time, Yellow-skinned ghost discovered that he was actually stuck in a philosophical problem. But the killing pattern has been triggered. If it doesn't attack a person, he feels uncomfortable all over, so he said, the person in front of you, do you think I look like a human being or do I look like a ghost? Shenji untyped a line and clicked on the voice. You need to add in front, hey Siri. Yellow-skinned ghost? Hey Siri, do I look like a human or a ghost? I think you look like a arrogant white-haired cat loli who is 150 centimeters tall, has 3 bows on her head, and has a good figure. A clear artificial voice sounded. Yellow-skinned ghost? He looked dull. He suddenly froze. Laugh. At this time, he suddenly caught a glimpse of the human holding the phone with an amused smile on his lips. The yellow-skinned ghost was stunned. He reacted suddenly. The short stature suddenly erupted into a terrifying supernatural power. His face darkened even more. Are you kidding me? No, I actually want to ask, if I answer like this, can you become a white-haired Lolita? Change you. The yellow-skinned ghost was very angry. Damn it! This human being deserves to die. His pants were ripped off. But since the phone answered, he answered as this human being. Although the bull's head is wrong, but barely it can be considered as triggering the killing pattern. No matter how hard he tried to reopen, he still had to fight with this human being. Human, you are seeking death. The yellow-skinned ghost growled. A pair of rotten hands stretched out from the shroud and pinched Shen Jian's neck. Snapped. A crisp sound of sex sounded. If you can't change, you still ask, isn't this suspected of fraud? I hate fraudsters like you the most in my life. Shen Jian grabbed the yellow-skinned ghost by his collar, slapping away the big mouths one after another. It wasn't until the other person's eyes no longer had any rebellious temperament that he let go. Will you ask me this again next time? No more questions, no more questions. That's good. Go in by yourself and save me from slapping you again. Shen Jian dropped the soul-binding bag, signaling the yellow-skinned ghost to get in by himself. Yellow-skinned ghost? Too much. I am one after all. Before the journey was over, Shen Jian raised his palm again. The yellow-skinned ghost got in humiliatingly. Boom. Shen Jian kicked it over again and cursed, will you tie it up if you open the bag? Do you still want me to teach you about this kind of thing? Yellow-skinned ghost. I will endure. He stretched out his hand and tied the mouth of the bag. He shrank back again. Fang Yuan. Instructor Gu. Everyone. It turns out you can deal with this ghost. So what was your previous behavior doing? Play with ghosts? The thought of this. Instructor Gu's eyes changed. This underworld city god has a really bad character. It couldn't be a wrong decision for him to invite Shen Jian to be his mentor. No. This section also needs to be cut off. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 198. After dealing with the yellow-skinned ghost, everyone continued to move forward. Finally we actually entered the village. The side mission has been triggered. A scarlet panel emerged. All eyes are on. Side mission, leave your own traces in Sujia village. Content, Sujia village is a highly exclusive village. Some folk cultures do not welcome outsiders, do not let outsiders' identities be revealed. Task requirement, let no less than 4 villagers know themselves. Note, the more villagers you know, the less likely it will be exposed on the day of the funeral. As soon as the panel prompts, the expressions of all the players present changed. This mission basically stopped them from wanting to retaliate. If they only followed Thai, not to mention knowing the villagers, it would be a question of whether they knew the villagers. Then, they hurriedly bid farewell to the group. Start walking towards the house in the other direction. Yamluo, this. The ancient instructor also frowned for a while. This is a 3-star dungeon. If the other members of Daxia Longke are allowed to complete the side mission alone, the mortality rate will be too high. After all, most of this group of people are 1-star players, and as long as a few are 2-star players, operating in a dangerous 3-star dungeon is basically equivalent to giving away food. Follow me, I have enough people over there for you to get to know. Shen Jian said casually. The reason why the first 7 dungeons were raised to 3-star difficulty was all due to him, so naturally he would not let it go. As for making friends, it's so easy. At worst, he could wait until the funeral was over before packing them up one by one, so it wouldn't be a problem. While talking, he had arrived in front of a 2-story bungalow. A young man and woman should live here. Not only is the layout of the house more in line with the aesthetics of young people, but even the building itself is in the style of a small villa. Ordinary old people would not build this kind of house. Shen Jian looked towards Fang Yuan. His eyes seemed to say, "Why don't you introduce new friends to us?" Fang Yuan. He took a deep breath and spoke out as much information as he could. Sujia village is very big. My mission at that time was just the simplest 2-star dungeon, and I didn't know many villagers. However, I was really familiar with this family, because the male owner there seemed to have mental problems, and after turning into a ghost, still doing things according to the habits he had when he was alive, he thinks that he is still alive. Hear this. Shen Jian's eyes lit up. There was a young couple living there. I heard that for some reason, men have murderous intentions towards women. One day, the man made up his mind to kill his wife, hid it in a suitcase, and planned to go out and destroy the body until late at night. But after dark, the man suddenly heard the sound of water coming from the bathroom. It is clear that there are only 2 of them at home, and his wife has been killed by him. Could it be that there is a burglar? The man rushed in with a knife and wanted to kill the other party to prevent his murderous secret from being exposed. But after entering, he discovered that the person inside was actually his wife. The man was stunned. He apparently killed his wife just a few hours ago. But his wife acted as if she didn't know anything. She laughed and scolded him for being so impatient even though they were an old married couple, and pushed him out. The man opened the suitcase tremblingly and found that the body inside was indeed missing, but the suitcase was still stained with wet blood. He didn't know what was going on. After 3 days of fear, he finally couldn't help but strike again. He chopped off his wife's head with a knife and cut her body into pieces and hid them in different corners of the house. But at night, his wife came back again, and the hidden body parts were gone, leaving only blood on the ground. On the 5th day, the man finally went crazy in the torture and chopped his wife into pieces. But soon the wife came back and asked him with a smile if he wanted to eat handmade meatballs for dinner. Time after time, the woman cannot be killed. She is still greeted with a smile every day, but the food she makes is getting weirder and weirder. The man became more and more haggard day by day, and he began to doubt whether the world was real, so he took a knife and killed the children of the neighbor next door, and then killed the neighbor's family in full view of the public. After that, his temperament became more and more eccentric, and people in the village refused to pay attention to him. Only his wife stayed with him. After Fang Yuan finished speaking, he secretly observed Shen Jian's expression. This thrilling story was told to him by the old bookmaker in the village, one of the few educated people in the village. When the man fell ill, he went to the old bookmaker as soon as possible and told everything. Only then did he know that the man of the house was such a crazy murderer. And the other party's wife is obviously also a monster. The evil ghost possesses supernatural powers that cannot be killed, but once dismembered, it will also fall into a deep sleep and become a dead state. But the wife in the story is like a ghost who will not die and can be resurrected after death. He felt that if he were the hero in the story, he would be driven crazy sooner or later. Then, he found that after hearing such a terrifying story, Shen Jian not only showed no fear at all, but also showed a heartfelt smile. My wife who can't be killed. Good stuff, I mean, what a love that lasts forever. The most heartwarming thing in the world is to have 3 meals a day with you. On the bed at midnight, there is a cold body that can comfort you. On the stairs in the early morning, she keeps looking at you. Even if she is torn apart by you, she will help you prepare breakfast on time the next day. Shen Jian shook his head. It looks like a man doesn't know how to cherish it. Fang Yuan, Instructor Gu looked at Shen Jian strangely. Are you sure this is a love story? No matter how you look at it, this is a terrifying urban legend. Shen Jian lowered his head. He looked at the black plastic bag around his waist. Think about it. He took out a suitcase from his body and threw the bag inside. Then he strode away. Yamluo, what are you going to do? That family is a lunatic and a monster. Even if you make friends with them, they will not attend the funeral. What's more, they are not liked by this village, and getting to know them is likely to have negative consequences. The ancient instructor's meaning was obvious. Getting to know this family is laborious, and may even have the opposite effect. Not worth it? Don't abandon, don't give up, this is my principle. Shen Jian didn't even look back. Instructor Gu. Do you want to see what the occasion is here? Is this sentence appropriate? Besides, who wouldn't want to experience such loyal love? Shen Jian's smile became even brighter. Seeing this, the ancient instructor also followed. In this current situation, he could only follow Shen Jian. Bang bang bang. Shen Jian knocked on the door hard. The door opens. A man with a haggard face and a thin body, who looked like he would be blown over by the wind if he took one step, stood at the door, looking at Shen Jian warily. Brother, I know your troubles. I have a special recycling agency here, which is specially designed for successful people like you who are tired of your wives. You can exchange it for new ones in proportion. What do you think? Do you want to try it? Shen Jian said professionally. Exchange, new one. Shen Jian's words can be said to be endless without surprising. It hit the man's mind like thunder. He didn't seem to expect that someone would talk about such a sensitive topic in front of him. If he were an ordinary person, even if he didn't beat Shen Jian violently, he would be expelled at this time. But men are different. He began to think seriously. Shen Jian continued, Sir, you must not miss the opportunity. If you lose it, you will never come back. Our organization is very strict. It was just a coincidence that you were selected this time. If you miss it, there will be no second chance. How to recycle? The man was moved. Of course it's shared. You know the resolute man with an inch hair behind me, he's in the same situation as you, so we provide you with equal proportion models, one for each. Shen Jian pointed to the group of people behind him. Vaguely. Other people's wives? The man was obviously more interested and asked in a low voice, My wife is a beauty in this village. She is not old and ugly. Shen Jian. Ouch. Of course not, but this age, is indeed a bit older, but you think she is only in her 40s, how old can her wife be? I can tell you a few characteristics: white, loud voice, skinny, and there's a sense of incomplete beauty. Shen Jian was very honest and told the information he learned. The man's eyes brightened. He turned his head and glanced at the bathroom. After hearing the sound of water inside, he quickly welcomed Shen Jian in and sat on the sofa. Then he asked cautiously, "The other big brother, won't you come in? You know, I am a professional. Only after I judge that it is qualified can it have the value of recycling." Shen Jian said seriously. "Oh well." There was obvious excitement in the man's eyes. This exchange model opened up a new world for him. And he is confident that with his wife's undying love for him, he will definitely not let the other party succeed. He will still be her favorite. By then, wouldn't he be able to have sex for free? Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 199. In the living room. The sound of rushing water disturbed the hearts of both of them. The male host was very excited. "I no longer know what I am imagining in my heart." Shen Jian sat on the sofa and waited quietly. Soon, the bathroom door opened. A woman wrapped in a bathrobe, exposing her delicate white thighs and bare shoulders, walked out. She looked to be in her 30s, a little thin, and not bad looking. Not as good as the top group in Shen Jian's impression, but still barely in the second tier. When she saw the stranger, the woman was not frightened. Instead, her eyes glowed with scarlet blood, and a ghost claw had appeared. "Husband, who are they?" "Your friends." The woman looked alert. His expression was extremely unkind. She didn't seem to want anyone to touch her husband. He comes to recycle home appliances." The man's eyes were evasive, as if he was a little afraid of his wife. "It is different from the version heard in the rumors." "That's it? Let him leave as soon as possible. Don't think about going out and fooling around. There's chaos outside right now. I'll go cook." The woman tied up her hair and said without looking back. Hearing his wife's words, the man's face trembled, his face became slightly distorted, and he resisted extremely. I won't go out." After his wife left, the man lowered his voice and said, "Brother, what do you think? My wife is a beauty from all over the world." Shen Jian glanced at it a few times and said casually, "It barely fits." "Hear this." The man's eyes became brighter and brighter, and he grabbed Shen Jian's hands excitedly. "Thank you, good brother." Shen Jian waved his hand calmly. "This is my duty, you're welcome." A glance out of the corner of my eye. Just in time, you can see the woman in the kitchen chopping vegetables, with very vigorous movements, as if she was trying to chop the chopping board into pieces. Obviously, as a ghost close to the red level, she heard the conversation between the two. And he felt resentful towards Shen Jian. His face also turned livid. Shen Jian was thoughtful. This so-called love is too twisted. The idea proposed by her husband seemed to be very proactive, but the female ghost only felt resentment toward him. This love is true until death. Think about it? Shen Jian asked, "But I have to ask first, why do you have such thoughts?" "I hope to hear the true answer." The man was silent for a moment, then gritted his teeth and said, "She has a strong desire to control, and I'm very resistant to it. For example, everything in the house must be in line with her wishes, from the small things like shaking your legs, biting your lips, and crossing your legs, to taking a shower before going to bed, sorting the garbage, to the big things like having to obey her when it comes to sex. I don't have any dignity as a man. But this shouldn't be a problem. This type of queen with a little shyness is also very comfortable." Speaking of this, the man hurriedly said, "Brother, can you give me an accurate word? You just need to take her away for a few days." "This is not possible. You need to convince her to come with us voluntarily." "Then what if she doesn't want to?" the man said solemnly. Then it's up to you to find a way to restrict her movements. In short, it will allow us to take her out smoothly. Shen Jian smiled slightly. His words stunned the man. There seems to be some ideas. The man walked into the kitchen with a fierce look on his face. It only takes a moment. The man came out again. His clothes seemed a little messy after a struggle, and he was breathing heavily. Dragging a large suitcase to Shen Jian. My wife has already installed it? Remember, if you open it after half an hour, it must be half an hour later. Otherwise, I will not be responsible for what happens. The man's eyes were scarlet, like an excited beast. Yes, I have received your wife. Shen Jian's face was expressionless. He also pushed a suitcase over and said seriously, the man's suitcase is in the suitcase. Remember, we can't open it until we leave. The man stopped him, looking suspicious. Why? There's nothing in your box, right? Haha, that woman is a bit special. She can only be sealed with a yellow talisman. Whoever reveals the yellow talisman first will treat the first person she sees as her husband and greet her warmly. You don't want the other person to mistake me for me. Consider me my husband. Shen Jian said seriously and perfunctorily. The man pondered for a moment. Get out of the way. There is a wife inside, which is an unexpected surprise. It's not sad to be without him. After all, his wife is gone and he can go outside to play at any time. It's not up to him to decide how many games he wants to play. The man walked Shen Jian to the door, looked at him with a smile, and said meaningfully, I hope you will get along well with my wife. Shen Jian also smiled. The same as you. With a bang, the door was closed. You can still faintly hear the man's gloating voice. With how much his wife loves him, the first thing he will do when he recovers is probably to kill all these people, and then rush home to continue clinging to him. This time is probably only a day and a half. Take advantage of this time. He wanted to see if there was a wife inside. When he uncovered the yellow talisman, he would be regarded as his husband at first sight and receive a warm greeting from the other party. He did not believe that such a good thing could happen. But idleness is also idleness. It doesn't hurt to look at it. Hey, baby, I'm here. The man opened the suitcase with a lewd look. Uncover the yellow talisman. The ugly head of an old woman opened its eyes. Make eye contact with the man. My head. I finally found my head. You are dead. You are dead. Steal my head. I will rush over now. The head roared loudly and sharply. The shock made the man dizzy. White. Loud volume. Skinny. Have a sense of incomplete beauty? Gan. Each of these words alone is an attraction to men. But what the hell? These are the words that humans use to describe heads. Damn you bastard. I want my wife to kill you all. In the room, the man's incompetent and furious voice came out. The other side. Some of Shen Jian's people had already gone deep into the village. On the road. The ancient instructor hesitated to speak. Yamluo, are you taking that head with the other party? Shen Jian laughed and said, yes, it's a good deal to get one head. Didn't you say that this woman will be resurrected? Don't you put a yellow talisman on her? You must know that she has formed a twisted love for her husband. Once she is resurrected, I am afraid she will attack us immediately. It doesn't matter, I have a way to make the other party fall in love. Shen Jian said casually. Instructor Gu. You just said that loyal love is so good. What do you want to do now? Don't you think so? Instructor Gu's eyes were strange. I have long heard from people in Qingxi that the city god of the underworld seems to be particularly fond of beautiful female ghosts. Even the Yinzei who first appeared in Lekeng are the type with the front protuberance and the back protrusion. Although the wife of that family is a ghost, apart from her extremely pale face, cold body, and possibly all kinds of weird behaviors, she can indeed be considered the type of Xiaojiabiu. Misiga. Put this section off too. It's not in line with our values. Instructor Gu said. Cameraman. He hesitated for a moment and then made an okay gesture. It's only the first night, so it's not a big problem. While talking, the group of people had arrived at AB/U0026B. Fang Yuan said seriously, "Here we are, this is the place where I executed the 2-star dungeon, Happy B/U0026B. The dungeon invitation letter was also given to me by the owner of the B/U0026B here. It's getting late tonight. Sujia village is more dangerous at night than in the morning. It's not suitable to go out. We will probably stay here for the next 7 days. Fang Yuan looked at the ancient instructor. Indeed, according to the content of the dungeon, this dungeon is likely to last for 7 days until the funeral is over. B/U0026B is the best choice. The ancient instructor nodded. You have lived here before, is there anything you need to pay attention to? Fang Yuan hesitated for a moment. There is only one person you need to pay attention to, the owner of the B/U0026B. Don't be fooled by his superficial honesty. He is a pervert who likes to voyeur behind his back. Oh. Shen Jian was obviously interested. Fang Yuan sorted out her thoughts. I also discovered this incident by coincidence. At that time, the person who entered the dungeon with me was Liang Huo, who lit up the firewood at one point. I guess he was so nervous that he became abnormal and chose to do it in the dungeon. The B/U0026B was openly at war, and that's when I happened to find many holes in the wall. And not 1 or 2 rooms, but all of them. On several occasions, I could clearly detect an eye moving in the hole in the wall, as if it was peering into something. I suspect that the owner of the B/U0026B here opened a B/U0026B here just to satisfy this perverted desire, attracting tourists to come and stay, and then take the opportunity to peek. And his killing pattern is also related to this. You can't expose him to his face. If you see him peeping, you have to pretend it's nothing. Anyway, he only likes to watch young lovers fighting. If there are others, he will only stay for a few seconds. Fang Yuan finished explaining the precautions in one breath. The others felt a chill. A pervert who likes to voyeur, and they haven't been able to expose him yet. What is the difference between this and being broadcast live? Simply, the other party only likes to see young lovers. Otherwise, the thought of being spied on every word and deed, even when sleeping, during these 7 days in a B/U0026B will definitely make you sick. After listening, Shen Jian's eyes became brighter and brighter. Can't be revealed? Suck it up. Useless. He, the king of hell, only plays with the real. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 200. Happy B/U0026B. This is a 3-story small bungalow-style building. The taste of young people is evident everywhere. Compared with other buildings in Sujiakan, it is undoubtedly a dimension reduction blow. It's no wonder that tourists come to live here. Following Fang Yuan's lead, Daxia Longke and his party went through the check-in procedures one after another. This guest, are you staying alone? The owner of the B/U0026B was a middle-aged man in his 40s who looked a bit honest. He stood at the front desk and glanced at Shen Jian with a meaningful smile on his face. You're blind. Shen Jian was rude and shook the suitcase in his hand. Can't you see that we are 2 people? B/U0026B owner. Who are you talking to? His smile faltered. Immediately, he glanced at the suitcase in the other person's hand strangely. The suitcase is huge. Big enough to hold a person. Are you playing a novel game? May I ask, what is your relationship? Shen Jian said casually, why are you asking so many questions? She is just a lonely and empty woman who needs comfort. Can you hurry up? We are in a hurry. According to the wishes of the male host, the woman will be resurrected within 30 minutes. He still needs to take this time to make some preparations. Not to waste. The smile on the B/U0026B owner's face became even brighter. For being so bold and having a room by himself, he could already imagine the barrage of fire that would follow. There is finally something good to watch today. When the time comes, he will be able to use the camera to take pictures, and he will be even more comfortable in threatening. With this thought, the owner of the B/U0026B quickly helped Shen Jian get the largest guest room. The equipment is most complete there. And it's a couple's suite. Have a good time, both of you. After personally leading Shen Jian to the suite, the B/U0026B owner smiled obscenely. Then he hurriedly went to the next room, opened a hole through which he could see the panoramic view, lay down on it, and observed. For a regular customer, he would usually wait. But young men and women who dare to play such bold tricks are definitely a raging fire that will ignite at a moment's notice. They must observe as early as possible in order not to miss any of the sexy scenes. Through the hole, he could see Shen Jian's figure clearly. The B/U0026B owner saw that the young man did not rush to open the suitcase, but took out a voice recorder and was recording something. Being sneaky must be something shameful. He leaned closer. Make an effort to listen. I heard it vaguely. Mission, kill, weapon, knife, dismemberment, suitcase, dig a hole. Wait for words. When these words are combined, it seems that a murderer who hired a killer is recording his crime process in detail. B/U0026B owner. He was shocked inside. It can't be so unlucky. Could this man be a killer? He looked at it for a while, his expression becoming more and more surprised. The young man was still talking about how to deal with the scene, clean up the traces, and ensure that no one saw his face. Most importantly, he also mentioned the words B/U0026B and boss. The B/U0026B ghost was shocked. Why don't you hide your appearance and just wait to kill all the witnesses later? His expression changed. He thought the young man was with the group of humans. But now take a look. He could sense the breath of life in this person at all. In other words, the other person is his kind. Also a fierce ghost. The target of the hired murder must also be a ghost. He is just an ordinary Tsingyi level ghost. If he is targeted, there will be no way for him to survive. At this time, the B/U0026B ghost was horrified to find that the killer glanced here from time to time while recording the murder process. The expression on his face was very sinister and vicious, as if he had realized that he was being spied on. No way. This is too bad luck. Why did I just meet a murderer? The B/U0026B ghost gasped, feeling regretful. At this time, his pupils widened and he suddenly saw the killer walking towards him. Did he find me? B/U0026B ghost's heart tightened, and he felt like his heart was going to jump out. But fortunately, there was no danger. The other party just moved the suitcase over, but it happened to block the hole. The B/U0026B is uneasy. He ran in another direction, opened the hole, and continued to observe. At this time, he no longer thought about any sexy scenes. I just want to know if this killer plans to kill everyone in the B/U0026B to ensure that his whereabouts will not be discovered. If he reports the crime now, will it be useful? With these concerns, the B/U0026B ghost continued to look toward the hole. Next moment, his face stiffened. His expression changed drastically. Because there is no one in the room. He hurriedly opened other holes, even the bathroom. No one. All empty. The killer had already walked out of the room. Is he planning to take action now? The thought startled him. Being able to become a killer in a horror world, the horror level of this ghost is at the red level at least. If it really activates its unparalleled power, no one in this B/U0026B can stop it. Da-da-da. Heavy footsteps were walking outside the corridor. It slowly stopped outside. Under the door, a faint shadow shone in, much like a foot. Someone. No, there's a ghost standing outside. B/U0026B ghost. His heart was already in his throat. He swallowed hard and slowly, not daring to move. He stared outside, for fear that the other party would suddenly break in. Kill him all. The doorknob turned and the killer was trying to push the door open. Good thing. He would lock the door before peeping to prevent secrets from being exposed. Opening the door to no avail, as if to make sure there was no one in the next room, the shadow under the door gradually faded away, and the B/U0026B ghost breathed a sigh of relief, with cold sweat covering his back. Crunch. There was a knock on the door next door. The killer returned to the room. The B/U0026B ghost didn't dare to go out now, for fear that the other party would see that there was someone in the next room, so he continued to peek. He lay down at the entrance of the cave and saw the young man next door opening his suitcase. This moment, his breathing became heavier and his scalp felt like it was going to explode. Because the contents of the box were just as he guessed. It's the corpse of a fierce ghost. And he knew this dismembered ghost. She is the wife of the young man from the house a few houses away who has mental illness. He had also coveted the beauty of the other party's wife at the beginning, but unfortunately the couple stayed at home all year round, let alone staying in a B/U0026B, and rarely went out even once, so he could not find any opportunity. Did not expect. Today, his wish came true. The other party really came to stay at the B/U0026B. It's just a state of death. The B/U0026B ghost's eyes widened, and he was in a trance. His psychological defenses were torn apart bit by bit, and he felt like he was going crazy. The man's next move allowed him to break through the defense again. I saw that the other party actually took out a still beating heart from his body. He recognized it. That was the ghost heart of a red-clothed fierce ghost. He doesn't know what kind of supernatural power he has. But he clearly knew that the other party was definitely not something he could match. Take out the ghost heart. The man seemed to be saying something. He also reached out and touched the woman's face. It seems like some kind of special ritual. Grass. Even a pervert like me thinks you are perverted. The ghosts in the B/U0026B are all cold. He never expected that such a terrifying guest would come to his B/U0026B. This is no longer just a killer, this is completely a psychotic ghost with extremely twisted psychology and extremely weird behavior. Such a vicious ghost should have been sent to a ghost town to fend for itself. Gilug. The B/U0026B ghost swallowed. He likes to peek. But I also don't like watching a pervert desecrate a corpse. He backed away subconsciously. But he forgot that he was near the hole where he was now. There is a vase. Boom. The vase falls. The sound of the sound made the man next door let out a sigh, followed by the sound of the door opening. Was discovered. The ghost in the B/U0026B was so frightened that his face was pale and his teeth were trembling. He couldn't believe what kind of terrible treatment he would suffer once he was discovered by this killer. Dismembered. Dismembered. Stabbed to death? Bang bang bang. While thinking, the door has been knocked. The B/U0026B ghost became frightened. This time the other party seemed to have determined that there was someone next door. The movement is getting bigger. Who is that brother next door? The water pipe in my room burst, so I came to borrow something from you. The knocking sound was a little low and a little urgent. Grass. You want to borrow my life? The B/U0026B ghost didn't want to respond. But the opponent is a terrifying ghost that has hunted red-level ghosts. A door cannot stop the opponent. If things get serious, the other party will really have no worries and will go on a killing spree. What's up? He said as calmly as possible. Hey, it turns out to be the boss. What are you doing in the next room? Did you just see anything? Hear this. The B/U0026B ghost breathed harder. What did you see? I saw a perverted murderer performing a blasphemous scene. Boss, why don't you say anything? Have you been kidnapped? If so, just blink. Shen Jian's voice sounded again. Not a few seconds. The knock on the door sounded again. Boss, why didn't I see you blink? B/U0026B ghost. Damn it. It's weird that you can see me blinking through a door. You just want to find an excuse to break down the door and come in. Think of this. The B/U0026B ghost can't sit still. He quickly shouted, come on, the hot water next door is broken, I will fix it. Open the door. Outside the door was Shen Jian holding a mace with some flesh and blood on it. He patted the B/U0026B ghost on the shoulder with concern, don't say anything. I know the murderer is still watching inside and wants you to send me away, but don't worry, I'm here. Said. Shen Jian had already walked into the next room and locked the door for him. B/U0026B ghost. It's only because of you that I'm afraid. His smile was stiff. He was afraid that Shen Jian would notice something was wrong. After Shen Jian came in. Look around. At the same time, he said, Boss, did you hear or see anything just now? What did you see? The B/U0026B ghost asked knowingly, I've been repairing the water heater just now, so I didn't hear anything. Really? Shen Jian was non-committal. Every time he walked in front of a hole, the ghost's heartbeat increased. Fortunately, the locations of these holes are hidden and difficult to detect unless you know them in advance. Just when the B/U0026B ghost's heart was at a loss, Shen Jian accidentally knocked off a painting. The painting fell from the wall, revealing a hole the size of an eye. The place where the hole was peeking happened to be the room next to Shen Jian. The B/U0026B ghost's face suddenly turned pale. He thought he had escaped, but was still discovered. This ups and downs of emotions made him grit his teeth. What a shame. At this time, Shen Jian also turned around slowly. There was a sinister expression on his face. Have you seen it? No, I. The B/U0026B ghost hesitated. He was directly pushed into the corner. Seeing Shen Jian getting closer and closer, he finally exploded. You want to kill me, come on. The B/U0026B ghost yelled. I won't just let you go. Once I make a move and disturb the humans outside and the old people in the village, even if you are a red-clad ghost, you will not be able to leave this village. The words just fell. The man in front of him raised the mace in his hand and smashed it down. He lost consciousness on the spot. Shen Jian was expressionless. This is the first time I've heard of such a request in my life. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 201. The next day. The ancient instructor was already waiting outside. Yamluo, do you know where the boss here is? Shenjian said casually, maybe he went on a trip. Instructor Gu. God went on a trip. Ever since they heard about the perverted behavior of the B/U0026B owner last night, the Daxia Longke members only dared to take a nap and did not dare to sleep peacefully. However, after waiting all night, no one said they felt peeping. When I got up early the next morning, I saw that the owner of the B/U0026B was gone. He suspected that this had something to do with Shenjian. Now seeing Shenjian's attitude, his guess came true. I don't know how the other party offended this underworld city god. Instructor Gu thought secretly. It was a relief. Without the B/U0026B owner, we don't have to worry. You can also take action better. What about the rest? Shenjian asked. Some of the 2-star players have already left, leaving only some 1-star players in the room. The ancient instructor sighed. After a good teaching copy, who knew it would become a 3-star copy, which is too big a step for 1-star players. Once they face the evil spirit, they have no chance of escaping. However, some 2-star players already have life-saving items in their hands and can explore outside Sujiakan. There are some other tourists in the B/U0026B. We tried to get to know them, but the system panel did not approve them. I guess that only those local ghosts can be considered villagers. Shenjian nodded. During the conversation, a scream was heard in the distance. Attracted their attention. This voice doesn't seem to belong to us, but it is indeed a human voice. Instructor Gu's expression changed. Are humans other than them appearing in the copy? This is the first time this has happened. Either there is a bug in the copy, or this time the copy is not as simple as they imagined, and it is likely that there is information they don't know. Yamluo, we. The ancient instructor's words had not yet finished. Shenjian on the side had already rushed out, acting more anxious than their parents. What are you waiting for? Hurry. It's too late, ghost, cough, people will be in danger. Looking at Shenjian leading the way, Fang Yuan couldn't help but sigh, this boss is so kind. If I could have met such a kind-hearted master when I first entered the dungeon, I would have promised him my life. Other members of Daxia Longke also nodded in agreement. To survive in a horror world, everyone can only take care of themselves. Even within Daxia Longke, they are not monolithic, and everyone has their own selfish motives. However, this Lord Yama has done everything by himself along the way, standing at the front and facing the biggest threat from the ghosts. This is simply a breath of fresh air in the horror world. It is the light of humanity. Being able to get to know such a big shot, they would brag about it when they got older. I remember when we went through the dungeon together with Lord Yama. In the crowd, only Instructor Gu looked suspicious. At a certain moment, he felt that the other party was obviously afraid that he would be late, so the ghost ran away. On the Lois Road, the 3 of them ran as fast as they could. There are 3 players, 1 male and 2 female. The man looked to be in his mid-20s and tall, one of the women was tall, with a cold face and a heroic appearance. The last woman's face was pale, and there was a black birthmark on her left calf. Her entire leg seemed to be disabled and she could not move. She was being carried away by 2 people at the moment. Brother Hu, Sister Tang, please leave me alone. I'm just a burden now. If you keep doing this, none of us will be able to escape. No. Sister Tang refused directly, with an air of determination in her tone. The man next to him was hesitant to speak. But looking at Sister Tang, who had already made up her mind, she was still embarrassed to speak. Behind them, a girl with a deformed body was crawling on the ground, chasing after her. The girl's lower body was empty and there were no wounds. It seemed that she was a half-ghost who had grown up like this since she was born. She relied on her two hands to crawl on the ground, but her speed was very fast. The terror level has also reached the terrifying King II level. He, brothers and sisters, don't run away, stay and play with me, can you play with me? But you look so strange. First become like me, and then play with me. A cold voice came from her mouth, which was quite penetrating. The breathing of the three people in front became heavier. There was cold sweat all over my back. The cold woman gritted her teeth. She was in a daze for a moment under the supernatural influence of the ghost. She felt as if her steps were filled with lead and became heavier and heavier. Tang Xin, we really have to let go, otherwise we will be caught up later. The tall man known as Brother Tiger gritted his teeth. Comparing the woman he admired with his own life, he finally chose the latter. As long as they give up this burden and use their supernatural props, they can definitely escape the threat of this evil ghost. Hold on a little longer, hold on a little longer. Tang Xin almost gritted his teeth and shouted. I saw people from GameElements coming in before. They are in the direction of Happy B/U0026B. As long as we go there, GameElements will protect us. They also need our help. If we don't gather all the players, everyone will die on the day of the first 7 funerals. I should have thought that this special dungeon invitation that does not limit the number of players is a trap. This is a hunting contest between evil spirits against all humans. What's the use of talking about this now? Who would have thought that the evil ghost would use this method to lure players in? Tang Xin, let go. Brother Tiger's soul is gone. Because the evil ghost behind him is already close at hand. It was already less than 50 meters away. Hold on a little longer. No, I don't want to die yet. Brother Tiger roared. He immediately let go of the woman. All of a sudden, all the pressure was concentrated on one person. The cold woman could hardly move. His eyes also became dazed. In a trance. She seemed to see a man holding a sickle in front of her and rushed towards him.